our Commission. Counter-espionage is the responsibility of Member States' intelligence services, but countering sabotage is also police business. Police are the first on the scene. When there is a fire, when there is vandalism, when there is violence, Russia uses proxies to carry out missions, extremist groups, criminals. As Commissioner, I have from day one built ties with the intelligence community. And today, I must say, we have a very strong cooperation, even though intelligence is formally a national competence. We understand each other's needs better and how to help each other better. The next Commission must continue to foster this cooperation between law enforcement and intelligence. Hostile state actors are not the only ones to threaten our society. Far-right violent extremists, often inspired by Russia, directly challenge democracy. Last week, the court case started against the alleged plotters of a far-right coup in Germany. Terror suspects are getting younger and younger, going down internet rabbit holes, making up a do-it-yourself ideology. And after the 7th October attacks and the war in Gaza, we've seen a teacher killed in France, 2 Swedish football fans killed here in Brussels, reports of Hamas plotting attacks in Europe. Jihadist terrorism is still the biggest threat, with no sign of decreasing. I'm especially concerned about the ISKP, a regional branch of Islamic State capable of carrying out big attacks abroad. We have done a lot to prepare ourselves against the terrorist threat. I put forward the first EU counter-terrorism agenda in 15 years. Member States are increasingly using the terrorist content online regulation to take down terrorist propaganda, issuing so far more than 550 removal orders to take down terrorist content within the hour. We need to counter terrorism with the strong arm of the law and the open arms of prevention. That's why we are continuing our important work against radicalization. Next month, we are setting up the EU Knowledge Hub to prevent radicalization. And thanks to this preventive work, attacks are not made, lives are not lost, and victims are supported and remembered. Organised crime is as big a threat as terrorism, and we must fight it with the same dedication. Organised crime is not only a threat to life and security, but also to democracy and society. Europol's recent mapping of 821 most threatening criminal networks shows they are very resilient. 1/3 of the criminal networks have been there for more than 10 years. Nearly 90% of them have infiltrated the legal economy, running businesses, investing in real estate. 70% of these most threatening criminal networks use corruption. But it's not corruption or violence, because 70% also use severe violence. Their brutality only matches their impunity, like the criminals who killed 2 prison guards during an escape in France 2 weeks ago. Organised criminals in Ecuador directly attack democratic institutions with violence and murder, and we follow that and we are afraid. But this is happening here too. Journalists, lawyers, politicians threatened or murdered by criminals in the European Union. I made it my mission to put the fight against organised crime on the top of the European agenda. And as part of my strategy against organised crime, I put in place a new EU law on asset recovery to take away the fast cars, big houses and piles of cash from the criminals. I proposed a new anti-corruption rules to criminalise all forms of corruption in all member states. And I call on member states to support strict anti-corruption rules. To fight organised crime, we need to work much more closely together in the European Union and beyond. We need closer cooperation also with partner countries globally, because it takes a network to fight a network. I was the first ever EU Commissioner for Home Affairs to travel to Latin America. I did that last year to Ecuador and Colombia. One concrete result of this trip was a security assessment that we are now carrying out in the port of Guayaquil, or the ports of Guayaquil, because there are several. We are working on agreements with 5 Latin American countries so Europol in the future can exchange the personal data needed to fight crime and have common investigations. We already have this in place with Colombia, but that's the only Latin American country so far with this status agreement that allows the good cooperation. Last October, I presented a roadmap against drug trafficking and organised crime. And in January, we launched the European Ports Alliance to keep criminals and drugs out of our harbours. We are closing the net. I'm proud to tell you today that from 14 ports at the launch in January, we are now 31 ports as members of the alliance. And the alliance is becoming operational. Customs officials visiting each other's ports, sharing best practices. And soon we will discuss an operational measures against criminal infiltrations in the ports. And to counter the persistent threat of drugs trafficking, I can announce today I will establish a European Commission coordinator for the fight against drug trafficking to help effectively implement our policies. And also a word on a crime that threatens the most vulnerable in society, child sexual abuse. Another crime that spans continents, with perpetrators in Europe paying to watch rapes of children on the other side of the world, and is spiralling out of control. In 2009, 750,000 predators were online at any given moment. Today, it's 2.5 million predators online at any given moment. And we leave our children alone out there. Every 2 seconds, a video or picture of a raped child is uploaded to the internet, often of rapes of very young children, severe sexual violence towards babies and toddlers. I should say that we are failing our children today. This crime is a question for us. It questions us as a society. What kind of society are we if we allow this to happen and to get worse? It's time for the internet companies to take responsibility. That's why it's essential to put in place permanent, comprehensive legislation to prevent the EU from becoming a safe haven for perpetrators. Organised crime, terrorism, child sexual abuse. These threats undermine the fabric of society, and they are global. I just discussed the specific measures I put forward to deal with these specific threats. But the bedrock of our security in Europe is police cooperation and information exchange, key to address all these threats. And Europol is at the heart of European police cooperation. Just a few recent examples reported this month. Europol supported Italian and Turkish police to dismantle a criminal organisation involved in murders across Europe. Supported Spain and the Guardia Civil to dismantle a cocaine laboratory and made 20 arrests. Supported police to rescue 4 children from abuse. I made sure Europol can do an even better job with a new mandate, with more resources, more staff, more powers to fight crime. balanced by a democratic oversight. And we've improved police cooperation, for example, by modernizing automated data exchange. The PRIM network made it faster and better. And all of these threats I discussed today are not only global, but they are digital. Some are specific digital threats like disinformation and cyber attacks, but all crimes are nowadays in some way digital. Criminals and terrorists use the internet to commit their crimes. They leave traces in the digital world. This makes access to data and data exchange essential for police work. E-evidence rules is now in place for quick access to cross-border evidence. But a big part of the digital world have become, in practice, a no-go area for police, unable to access even with lawful warrant, because evidence disappears so quickly. Data is not stored or is not accessible. In the next mandate, it's necessary to find solutions for lawful access to data. And generative AI is also going to be such a challenge. The potential for crime is enormous. We had a recent case in Hong Kong where criminals scammed a financial worker into paying $25 million. He took part in a video conference, and all the other participants were deep fakes, including his colleagues and the chief financial officer. Deep fakes can make the flood of disinformation much, much worse. And AI is already being used to make child sexual abuse material by training the AI on pictures and videos of real rapes of real children. While technology is running, we are walking. As lawmakers and law enforcers, we are already falling behind. We need to catch up. We need to start running. But still I can say that I am proud, even if the world has become a much more dangerous place. I think I can say that we made Europe a little bit safer. For the future, it will be your job, all of you here today, to keep Europe safe in this dangerous world. I am proud of what we have achieved, and I'm proud of Europol, of what you have achieved. Well respected, well trusted, and this is well deserved. And I'm very proud of you, Catherine de Bolle, my executive director. We've gone through a lot together, you and I, Catherine. You have made Europol what it is today. And I could not have achieved what I have done as Commissioner in security during this mandate without your dedicated work and your leadership. All of you should be proud. I want to end, as I started, by saying happy birthday, Europol, 25 years old. It's an important age if you're a person. You're all grown up, but you have still the whole life ahead of you. And so it is with Europol. In 25 years, Europol has become the foundation of the EU police cooperation. But you still have a great future ahead of you. Thank you.
Dear Commissioner, dear Chiefs of Police, Deputy Chiefs, dear colleagues and dear friends, thank you very much for joining us today as we commemorate the 25th anniversary of Europol. Europol is at the very heart of the European internal security architecture, and today we are also looking back at our common achievements in the field of internal security. I must say that the last 5 years have been very intense and fruitful. And I would like to congratulate and thank you, Commissioner Johansson, your team, and the Directorate General for Migration and Home Affairs for the important accomplishments in this area. As Executive Director of Europol, it is a pleasure to address you today and to reflect on the journey of an organisation that has played a pivotal role in maintaining safety and security across Europe. Over the past 25 years, Europol has evolved remarkably. Our history is one of constant adaptation and transformation, adapting to the changing landscape of organised crime and terrorism, to the evolving needs operationally and the requirements of Member States' law enforcement agencies, to the development of the security union and in general to the evolution of the EU as an internal security actor, and finally by adapting to ambiguous and uncertain geopolitical trends that impact the operational context and policing. The war in Ukraine and in the Middle East, instability, climate change, pandemics or natural disasters. In this complex environment, Europol has become a cornerstone of European security and European cooperation. The very idea of Europol, as formulated by the late German Chancellor Helmut Kohl in 1991, has always been closely associated with European integration, in particular with the notion that the free movement of persons had to be accompanied by enhanced security for our citizens and a reinforcement of the EU internal security as a whole. Establishing a European criminal intelligence agency was the logical consequence of the informal police cooperation that was taking place at the European Community level since the 70s. Therefore, the Maastricht Treaty of 1992 established that police cooperation was a matter of common interest and made an explicit reference to a European police office. It was very much sanctioning a specific set of circumstances existing at that time. In fact, Europol is not a top-down political and institutional construction. It is the practical manifestation of a pre-existing operational practice developed over the years by the Member States' law enforcement agencies. It is very much a grassroots development, responding to the specific requirements of European police cooperation, the need to meet in an environment of trust, to sit around a common table in order to have a multiplying effect on the fight against organised crime and terrorism. As we look back on Europol's evolution, I would like to briefly reflect on what has changed and what has remained. Serious and organised crime is both a structural and a fluctuating phenomenon. And over the last 25 years, it has undergone significant transformations, adapting to technological advancements, globalisation, and shifting socio-political landscapes. These changes have made combating serious and organised crime increasingly complex and increasingly demanding, requiring a constant evolution in law enforcement strategies and international police cooperation. There are two fundamental trends which have had a transformational impact on the criminal landscape. First is the digital revolution, which has not only transformed legitimate business practices, but also provided criminals with new avenues for illicit activities. Back in 1999, when Europol started operating in The Hague, only about 4% of the world population could access the Internet, compared to 70% nowadays. Today, cybercriminals exploit the Internet to commit the entire spectrum of offences, including new ones like hacking, digital identity theft, online fraud and ransomware attacks. The dark web has become a hub for illegal trade, offering anonymity and a global marketplace for drugs, weapons, counterfeit goods or human trafficking. In response, Europol developed cutting-edge cybercrime units, employing employees and specialists who work tirelessly to stay ahead of these ever-evolving threats. The European Cybercrime Centre, established 11 years ago, has become a beacon of excellence in combating digital crime, fostering collaboration across borders and sectors and of expertise. And the second key transformational trend for organised crime has been globalisation. The increased movement of people, of goods, of capital across border has facilitated the expansion of criminal networks. We have seen how, in the midst of a recent global multi-crisis, serious and organised crime systematically reinvents itself. Organised crime groups have become more sophisticated, more complex and more transnational, exploiting differences in legal system, in enforcement capabilities among countries. Recently I spoke about a kind of global crime warming. To address this global challenge, Europol quickly expanded its capabilities, fostering collaboration with third countries in Europe and beyond. 24 years ago, Europol signed its first cooperation agreements with Iceland, Norway and the United States, but today Europol is at the centre of an extensive network of liaison officers from over 50 countries and organisations, all based in the headquarters in The Hague. When Europol was established in 1999, the world was a very different place. As we look back, it is clear that our mission has expanded considerably. Today, we confront a wide array of complex and interlinked crime activities, reflecting the evolving nature of crime in the 21st century. Despite these challenges, several core principles have remained steadfast, guiding Europol's mission and ensuring our effectiveness. I would like to highlight a number of key features that, in my view, constitute Europol's 7 pillars. The first one is our commitment to collaboration. Europol was founded on the principle of cooperation, recognising that crime and terrorism has no border and that a united approach is essential. The spirit of collaboration is probably best exemplified with the establishment in 2015 of the Task Force Fraternité after the terrorist attacks in Paris and later in Brussels. Second is our pledge to operational support. Europol is a service-oriented organisation. In an increasingly complex environment, our purpose has always been to develop Europol further as a strong, operationally focused organisation with the aim of delivering the services most important to the law enforcement agencies in the Member States of the European Union. We have been doing so by developing operational centres of specialised expertise, responding to Member State security needs and expectations. I already mentioned the Cybercrime Centre in 2013, the Internet Referral Unit in 2015, the European Counter-Terrorism Centre in 2016, as the result of the terrorist attacks, the Migrant Smuggling Centre in the context of the migrant crisis in 2015, the European Serious and Organised Crime Centre to enhance our capabilities against increasingly violent networks, and the European Financial and Economic Crime Centre to address the penetration of organised crime in our economies and into the social fabric. We aim to deliver real operational added value. We have prioritised investigations against high-value targets in the framework of operational task forces, and these task forces have proven to be an invaluable tool in the fight against serious and organised crime, with the most ambitious investigations ever undertaken at European level. Our third pillar, it's intelligence sharing. Europol's vision is to ensure an effective response to the threats of organised crime and terrorism by acting as the criminal information hub in the European Union. The analysis of information is the DNA of Europol, as we often say. The processing of large and complex data sets is necessary for police work in today's digital world. And we can do this now, thanks to the recast, our mandate. The large and complex data sets are lawfully collected by member states and by operational partners and submitted to Europol for operational analysis and forensic support. This happens under judicial oversight. For example, when Europol is involved in a joint investigation team or where an operational task force is established. Our aim is to ensure a continued, lawful access to criminally relevant information from inside the EU and from outside the EU. Another enduring pillar of Europol is our dedication to innovation. As criminal tactics evolved, so must our methods. We have consistently invested in staying at the forefront of technological advancements to enhance our investigative capabilities, whether through our state-of-the-art forensic laboratories or our pioneering use of data analytics. Europol continues to leverage innovation to outspace criminals and terrorists. Our fifth pillar is accountability. We are determined to make Europe a safer place by contributing to an area of freedom, security and justice. Europol places the individual at the heart of its activities. Our role is to protect citizens against organised crime and terrorism, and compliance with fundamental rights, including data protection, has represented a founding pillar of Europol right from the start, 25 years ago. Europol has built one of the most solid and transparent data protection ecosystem across the law enforcement community. Over time, we have strengthened our data protection regime through scrutiny from the Parliament, enhanced data protection supervision with a new role for the data protection supervisor, and a new internal position like the Fundamental Rights Officer. Partnerships constitute our sixth pillar. We have strengthened the engagement with law enforcement agencies across different disciplines like financial investigation units, customs services, or with other actors like the intelligence community. We also have developed alliances with the private sector, an aspect reinforced in the recent amended regulation of Europol. Since its establishment, Europol has developed into a strong enabler that brings relevant third countries and organisations together to maximise the operational results. We are committed to continue this engagement. in particular with the Schengen-associated countries, Interpol and the Justice and Home Affairs agencies. And these alliances are instrumental to our success, enabling to us to pool resources, share intelligence and mount coordinated responses. And finally, our seventh pillar, and for me one of the most important ones, is trust. Trust is the most precious commodity in the world of police cooperation. Sharing and exchanging criminal and terrorist information between countries and with relevant agencies is best achieved through building trust rather than creating obligations. Retaining the public's trust is also fundamental for any future policing, be it national, be it international, be it online, be it offline. As we will hold European elections in a few weeks, it is crucial that we continue to build trust and avoid social polarization, because that is the foundation of effective law enforcement cooperation. In the face of these complex challenges, there are always risks of disengagement or retrenchment from existing cooperation mechanisms. At Europol, we are actually conscious that the trust we have been building up over the last 25 years needs to be preserved. We will do so together with our stakeholders in the management board and with the support of our legislators. Dear colleagues and friends, the social and economic costs of organised crime and terrorism are so high, they are so politically, economically and socially damaging that no single organisation or country, however powerful, can address them alone. This is why we need to continue to build on our long-standing efforts and progress in international police cooperation to further modernise and to strengthen our tools. Europol's unwavering focus on protecting European citizens has always been our driving force. Everything we do is aimed at ensuring the safety and the security of the communities we serve. This mission remains as vital today as it was already 25 years ago. As we celebrate this milestone, I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to all those who have contributed to Europol's success, to my predecessors, to the dedicated staff, in the past and present. Their expertise, passion, resilience have been the foundation of our achievements. To our partners and stakeholders, your collaboration and support have been invaluable. And to you, Commissioner Johansson, the last